Assalamu alaikum. Now I'm going to start the lectures on the circulatory system of the body. So the whole blood supply of the body I will discuss in detail one by one. So first of all, the largest artery of the body which start from the heart and supply all the body is aorta. So we first of all we will discuss about the aorta, and then one by one I will tell you about the blood supply of the upper limb, lower limb, and then the head and the thorax and the abdomen. So first of all, I am going to tell you about the aorta. As you know, aorta start from the left ventricle. So it directly comes from the left ventricle, and then it descends to the thorax and then abdomen, and then in the pelvis region it divides in the right and left common iliac arteries. So aorta is the largest artery of the body and it carries the oxygenated blood from the left ventricle. Okay, let's start. What are the different parts of the aorta? So aorta is divided mainly into four parts. The first part is the ascending aorta. You can see here it is ascending aorta, and there is arch of aorta which ends here, and then there is thoracic aorta which ends at T12, and then at the end it descends into the abdomen and it ends into L4 level and divide into right and left common iliac arteries. So what are the different arteries coming from the ascending aorta and what its relations? So you can see here it mainly start in the left ventricle, and the proximal part or the ascending aorta is mainly enclosed in the pericardium. So you can see here I shown here there is pericardium, the aorta. So ascending aorta has three dilatations which is mainly called aortic sinuses. Ascending aorta is mainly 5 cm long and it has 4 cm width, and it is the widest part of the aorta because it goes down, it becomes narrow from 4 cm to 2.5 cm into the abdomen. There are three aortic sinuses, so right posterior and left posterior. Right posterior gives the right coronary artery and the left one gives the left coronary artery. So coronary arteries originate from here and supply the heart. Then it goes upward and it gives the aortic arch. So aortic arch is mainly almost 3 to 5 centimeter long. So aortic arch mainly start from the sternal angle and it goes downward. So this side is mainly left lateral view. Then arch of aorta gives mainly the arteries which supply the upper arm and the head. So we can see here it gives the brachiocephalic trunk. Brachiocephalic trunk divide into two. It gives the right common carotid artery and the right subclavian artery. Right subclavian artery further goes to the arm and supply the right arm, and the common carotid artery mainly supply the head and brain. So right side gives the main brachiocephalic trunk. Left side it gives the separate. One is common carotid artery on the left side and second one is the subclavian artery on the left side. So left side subclavian artery supply the left side of the arm and the left side common carotid supply the head. So thoracic aorta start from the lower border of the T4. It gives mainly the two main branches, visceral or parietal. Visceral branches are those which supply the organs of the thoracic cavity. It also supplies the mediastinum and it also gives the parietal branches. So visceral branches are those which supply the pericardium, esophagus and mediastinum and bronchial arteries. The parietal branches are those which supply the wall of the thorax, which included the intercostal, subcostal and phrenic arteries. So here I will only mention there is visceral branches and other one is parietal branches, but in detail we discuss later. So you can see here there is a diaphragm. So it crosses the diaphragm. When it goes down to the diaphragm, it becomes a abdominal aorta. So here is this abdominal aorta. So abdominal aorta also give many more branches which are in paired and unpaired. So it ends in the L4. So the many branches of it are unpaired. One is celiac trunk and superior mesenteric artery and inferior mesenteric artery. So as it comes down, it gives celiac trunk. Celiac trunk has mainly three arteries which mainly divide into three, which are left gastric artery and splenic artery and common hepatic arteries. Then down to it, it gives our second one branch, which is superior mesenteric artery, and lower one is inferior mesenteric artery. Ciliary trunk here comes from the aorta, which is just anterior to the L1 level. It is upper border of the L1 vertebrae where the ciliary trunk comes, and the superior mesenteric artery comes from the abdominal aorta, and it is corresponding to the lower border of the L1. And inferior mesenteric artery lies in the level where is L3 vertebrae ends. So I have discussed about the unpaired arteries. Now I will tell you about the paired arteries which comes from the abdominal aorta. So first one which comes from abdominal aorta is the inferior phrenic arteries. So it comes from here and it supplies the lower part of the diaphragm to both sides. These are paired arteries mainly. And there are renal arteries. Renal arteries supplies the kidneys, and then there are gonadal arteries. There are also adrenal arteries, and then the last one is the lumbar arteries which supply the lumbar vertebrae. What are the relations of different parts of the aorta? So you can see here it is aorta from the left ventricle to the iliac crest, and is divided into the right and left iliac arteries. In this picture, the view of the thorax is the right lateral view. You can see here the aorta is not seen through this. Here it is the left lateral view of the thorax. You can see here there is arch of the aorta. So here is arch of the aorta. So here it is first part. Here is arch of the aorta, and it is the descending aorta, and it then crosses the diaphragm. Arch of the aorta lies superiorly to the left bronchus. So the whole hilum of the left lung is under the arch of the aorta. So here you can see there is left pulmonary artery, left bronchus, and pulmonary veins lies in the inferior part of the arch of the aorta. And in the front of the arch of the aorta there is thymus and the sternum and the ribs. And in the superior view you can see here, superior to the arch of the aorta, there are mainly the branches of the aorta which coming from the arch of the aorta. You can see here the left side there are the subclavian artery and left common carotid artery, and the right side there are brachiocephalic trunk. On the right side of the arch of the aorta there is a right lung, and on the left side there are left lung. But in the right side there is also a trachea. So mainly the left lung will be directly connected with the arch of the aorta. Thoracic aorta have the relation with the esophagus and also with other structures. You can see here the descending aorta. In front of it there is a heart mainly, and then there are vessels, bronchus, and the pulmonary veins, etc. But in the lateral side if we see, there is esophagus. So the left lung is in direct relation with the descending aorta, but here it is removed. And in the posterior side there is the vertebrae, and also there are vessels and veins which lies posterior part of the descending aorta. Okay, this is the anterior view. As both lungs are removed, you can see this is the aorta which has lateral side, and right lateral side there is esophagus and also nerves, and on the left side there is pleura. Aorta when passes through the diaphragm, the esophagus becomes anterior to it and it comes through the diaphragm through the esophageal opening. But as aorta lies behind the diaphragm, so it crosses through posterior to the esophagus to the abdomen, and it becomes abdominal aorta. So again here it is the simplest diagram of the arch of the aorta and its relation with the esophagus and the left main bronchus. In the next diagram you can see the whole relation with the vertebrae. So I have told you already, arch of the aorta ends at the T4 level of the vertebrae, and then the thoracic aorta ends at the T12 level, and it then descends to the abdomen, and at L4 level it then enters into the pelvis. So here it is the relation of the posterior side of the aorta.